Call Joe at Ambition Electric for any of your electric needs at 402-217-3415.
Parents, if you've been waiting for FDA approval to get your teen vaccinated, the time is now. The FDA has approved the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for use in preventing COVID-19. While this is the first vaccine to gain FDA approval, all COVID-19 vaccines have been proven to be effective against the coronavirus. Want to reduce your teen's risk of hospitalization while protecting yourself and your community? Get your teen vaccinated today. Visit vaccinate.ne.gov to get started.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
Why are we getting killed like this?
Kyle's not here. Got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah, 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Harsh.
Hey, he knew not to drink. We've made that clear to all of our kids, right?
No, not really.
Bill, if we don't tell them what we expect and why they shouldn't drink, how are they going to know?
Sponsored by SAMHSA and Nebraska DHHS. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three! And you're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
93.7 The Ticket veteran and Ortega connoisseur, Jake Bakoven.
I like Ortega and I like pepper.
Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Hold up.
This is On the Block on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Jake Bakoven. He is the longtime NBA vet and Husker Hall of Famer, Eric Strickland, and we've got quite a show lined up for you. 425, we'll bring in Brian Christopherson of Husker 24/7 to talk about just the program altogether for Nebraska basketball after another loss last night, dropping to 0-9 in conference play. Seems like patience is wearing thin a little bit from the Nebraska fan base or following. So we'll talk about that. Also, big one at 525, Cedric Ceballos, of course, the former NBA All-Star, will join us as well. So we've got a very nice show lined up for you. Strick, how are you doing today?
As in the illustrious words of Ice Cube, today was a good day.
That's always good to hear.
You know what I'm saying? No breakfast with the small, no hog. And mama cooked the breakfast. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. I don't know how the lyrics go, but that's something like that.
So you can't get too much into an Ice Cube song without us having to use the dump button over here. So we better not get too deep into that one. But first, the biggest question, of course, that we just finished on the Ticket water cooler was, would you be willing to try this Baja Blast that is spiked with alcohol? Baja Blast, of course, the Mountain Dew from Taco Bell. They're not going to put some alcohol in there. Would you be interested in that? Have you had Baja Blast before?
I have not had the Baja Blast. I think I've been trying to like minimize my soda and carbonation intakes a little bit. So I haven't really partaken in a lot of those drinks. I've seen them. Every now and then I'll get a craving for like the Nacho Bel Grande or the Crunch Wrap. But for the most part, I'm kind of just, I've been trying to do good, man. The weight doesn't do the same as it used to. I mean, that thing gets on you now, and it's like it's on you. So it's like it's easier to get on than it is to get off. That's the craziest thing about getting old. Yeah.
Did you ever have to eat like a high calorie diet because you would play every night? In the league.
No, I didn't. I think really the only routine that I pretty much had dealing with anything like that was I tried to eat some pastas or some carb related things before the games. We normally would have like a little area that you could go to and kind of get some pregame food or whatever. I would usually try to do that. I wasn't bad about that part of it. No, I think the main thing was just making sure you got something to eat afterwards, after you lost a lot of that energy and stuff over the game time, just making sure you get. And the craziest thing about it was, this is going to surprise some of you, but there really weren't a lot of good restaurants that, this is back in my time. I mean, I think it's changed now, but there really weren't a lot of good restaurants that would be open late in the evening. So, so the crazy thing about what me and my teammates would do is we go to strip club. And that was that was some of the best food you can get.
Oh yeah.
It was steak, lobster, shrimp, all types of breasts. It was the best food you can get. And so what we would do is we just get a little private room to the back, and we would go back there, eat some grub. Of course, the ladies would come back there. It reminded me of the movie Players Club, right? Where they ring the bell and like, ding, 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 ding. And all of them would come running in there after that. But at least they let us eat our food first. So it was pretty cool.
Were the chefs provocatively dressed, or you never going to see them?
The chef. Sometimes the chef would come out and address us. It was a guy usually. It wasn't really a woman. It was usually a man in it, but it was actually really good food.
You got to do what you got to do. There's only so many places open at that time of night, right? Some other ones that I wanted to ask you about. The Little Debbie's also is creating ice cream for all their their well-known store foods. Did you ever like the Cosmic Brownies or Nutty Bars or oatmeal cream pies or any of those?
Oatmeal cream pies is definitely one that I used to partake in.
Would you eat it in ice cream form?
I don't know if I could do that.
I don't think so either. It's kind of gross, like honey buns, Swiss roll ice cream. Yeah, this is all the ice cream brands. They're gonna roll it out. They're gonna give it a shot. I don't think it's gonna work.
I don't know if I can roll with that one.
Yeah,
I used to like those ones with the little frosting inside, and the little frosting inside, and it was iced on the outside. The Little Debbie cakes or whatever. I used to tear them things up. I used to go in on those. And see, that's the crazy thing about it. Then I could eat the heck out of those like crazy, and then all of a sudden, you get over a certain age, you go start trying to go in on them like you used to, and that don't work.
I used to really love the Cosmic Brownies. Like as a teenager, I'd get them.
Oh yeah, with the little sprinkle stuff on them.
Yeah. But lately, I tried one the other day, and it's like this. Did they change the recipe, or did my taste buds change? Because this is not good anymore.
No, did you have COVID?
No. I can't even taste this brownie. What's going on? No, this was.
Did you lose your taste?
This was more than just post-COVID. This was before. I've had it the last couple of years, and it just doesn't hit like it used to when I was a kid. But
it used to hit different when you was a kid, though. It always hit different. Boy, the things we used to hit, boy. So you're a little younger than me, but boy, the things we used to go in, them now and laters and them Chico sticks. Stuff, boy, we used to go in on them things. Yeah.
Thankfully, they didn't ever try to make those ice cream, but I think probably the worst of that might be zebra cake ice cream. That sounds pretty gross, but we'll see. I mean, there are a lot of new products coming out. Like we said with movies the other day, they don't have a lot of original ideas, so you just gotta stir up with whatever you got to work with.
Revamp.
We did talk plenty about Husker basketball last night of the post-game show, but I wanted to bring it back up again, more of kind of a larger picture discussion, because some of the local newspapers are columns in response to that game are basically saying it's kind of getting close to time for a decision to be made. Basically, unless things turn around, you've kind of almost got to either make a statement or make something. I mean, it's getting that bad when you're 0-9 in conference play. Now 5-43 in conference play so far for Fred Hoiberg. I mean, that's really tough to swallow and tough to ask Husker fans to stick around and believe and to watch. Do you think, I mean, we heard this from the interesting thing is we heard from Trev Alberts when Scott Frost was at 3-7 and saying we're sticking through this guy. Obviously they fired some of the assistant coaches and made it very apparent that regardless of what happened in the final two games, he basically gave his vote of confidence. And everybody knew at that time, okay, we can stop all the rumors. We can stop all the speculating. Frost will be back. Do you think that it would benefit Nebraska basketball to do the same thing? Or do you think that maybe you want to wait to see the finished product by the end of the season to know if you're full go for another year?
I would definitely probably wait it out. I wouldn't want to make no significant changes in the midst of the basketball season, but that would be something I would have to weigh out. you've got to make some change, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be something. And if you feel, I think at this point, if there's no significant changes in the way the way that they're playing these games, or even winning, if they can't win a game, I mean, like I said, they just haven't played a full game yet. They have yet to play a 40-minute game. It just seems like it's consistently a period that they can't overcome, right? So if you're down 7, you've got to win the second half. I mean, you can't play even on the second half, you lose. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, there's got to be something. I don't know where that's going to come from. I mean, as I was looking at it, right, I was looking at Nick Saban. I know we're going to talk a little bit about that at the end of the day. But one of the things that I found that was very profound with him is that with so much turnover with SEC coaches, right, the question has to be, and what is the leading factor? The question was, what is the leading factor of longevity in the SEC? So we know there's so much turnover, and it's because guys come in, they make the bag, and they can't sustain the levels of competition. They may have ups and downs, a roll, then all of a sudden they go 2 years at, 3 and whatever, right? Yeah. So with that being the case, Nick Saban said something, and he said, that's simple. He says, you have to win. What does it take to win? The answer to that question is better, for me than anything that what he said. He said, I think you have to have culture in your organization. And we're about helping our players to be more successful in life because they're involved in the program, right? I thought that was a very good point. So if Fred Hoiberg can look at what he's saying, there's things that we've talked about in the past, right? We talked about culture. We talked about you have to win. We talked about the expectations of what the players, when they come through the cycle, what that's going to look like on the back end of it, right? So I think what Nebraska has to do, man, they have to hone in on the successes of the program in the recent years, right? You just had Isaiah Roby that just went to the NBA. He's there. He's not playing in crazy minutes, but Delano Banton is. He just left, and he's playing, right? So you have to focus also on that, and then you have to focus on the history. You have to look at those who, when you bring them to the program, you have to look at those individuals that are being recruited. Do they have the hunger and do they have the heart to go beyond what the history of the program has looked like, right? So you have to recruit with heart and with passion to do something beyond what has been known, what has been successful, right? So you have to recruit in that manner. And then lastly, you have to establish a culture and identity so that when they show up, they already know what to expect. They know what it's going to look like when they leave. They know what, the staff is going to be about. They know what to play on the court, and they exhibit the style that's going to be exhibited, the execution, what's going to be asked of them. It's already going to be established. Anything outside of that, there's a problem. You see what I'm saying? And I don't think they have that yet. And
yeah,
that's the issue.
It's like we said all year long, if you're going to give up more than 10 plus boards in the rebounding battle, you have to have some sort of strength to combat that, and they don't have that. So last night on the postgame show, we're trying to kind of figure out, well, if you're just going to take that as a loss, then maybe you can shuffle your lineup and you don't have to be as big as they want to be. So maybe that's a change. But I mean, ultimately, I think what we're talking about here is similar to the Frost situation, right? Where the expectation was, I have this system, it's going to work. It's worked before. Let's try it in Big Ten football. Well, it's kind of same thing with basketball, right? And it hasn't worked. And so you kind of wonder, similar to the Frost thing, if you get into a discussion, if you're Trev, and you sit Fred Hoiberg down, you say maybe this pace of play isn't the identity. Maybe the new identity is something you can control a little bit more with effort, defense, rebounding. Scoring will get there, whatever. But if defensive and rebounding are your identity and it's required to make, get on the floor, you at least have some sort of strength to rely on, other than we shoot a lot of shots. We don't always make a lot of shots, but we shoot a lot of shots. I think that helps in recruiting. That's helped them in recruiting, is to get that type of player that wants to play in that NBA offense, that fast-paced, we're going to take as many shots as we can throughout a game. I mean, that stuff sounds good in recruiting, and they've done a good job recruiting, but it hasn't worked out overall. So do you think they need to change that particular identity moving forward in the Big Ten?
I think that's one thing you have to look at. You have to look at that. You have to look at your staff. You know what I mean? You have to look at, okay, yeah, when we've recruited well, but does there need to be a change in the staff that's going to be able to elevate and get the most out of the players that are there, right? That's going to be able to demand what is required and that's excellence with regards to rebounding, defense, and all the sorts of things that are winning plays, right? Because at the end of the day, winning takes care of all the ills, right? When you think about life in itself, you can revive any program to life off of life support by winning. If you can win and then you win the way in which the identity speaks of, then you can cure all ills. And that's, I think, they did that. The way to pump some life into and get them off of life support, because they look dead right now. Get them off of life support. You're going to have to, make some hard discussions, hard changes, and you may even have to look internally, because if you don't look internally, maybe, Trev Alberts might.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is at that point. It's gotten so bad that I do expect to see some changes on the staff down on the bench, and it may not be even those guys' fault. I mean, you need somebody to fall on the court, captain to do, and try to get something sparked within this team. But of course, that won't be happening till at the end of the season. So we kind of wonder what they're going to do moving forward here. Maybe they can quiet all this talk. Maybe they can, because they did play a top 11 team, top 12 team there to 7 points. That's not easily done. I mean, you have to have a degree of effort and talent and skill in community and all that stuff to be able to play that game. So maybe they still feel like they're like the dreaded word in Nebraska right now, close, right? They're close. And they want to just keep going with it. But I think that's where the frustration is piling up too, is that, that they are trying the same recipe over and over, and it's coming up short over and over and over again. And maybe it would be wise to try something else out in game. And so, that's where I didn't envision us at the beginning of the season saying, at this point, maybe go small, have Derek Walker as your only big on the court. That doesn't sound like a wise strategy, but at least it's something different. And I think that's what people want to see. If Hoiberg is going to continue to lose, at least experiment with things. And the other thing is, and it's not this way yet, but by the time you hit the end of the season, I think that you should be forced almost to experiment a little bit with what looks to be projecting coming back. Try to build some chemistry, some hope, some lifeblood into the future of the program, which would mean, maybe putting a not a Kobe Webster, a Casey Tamanaga at the point or whatever. Use some of those guys, and then who knows at that point if it started to win, then you'd have to look back on what was happening in the middle of the season and not making those adjustments. But it just feels like there has to be some adjustment made more than hey, Trey McGowan's is back and he should be able to save us.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what it boils down to. You're going to have to make some hard decisions. Some people may be upset about it, but it ain't from a lack of you having an opportunity. You know what I mean? Right. And I really do. When I look back at it, I really do think about the fact that I think you have to have individual. I mean, we've talked with Cerebral Sports, right? And this is why I love the company, and I think that one of the tools that are phenomenal is that you can have these types of discussions, right? You can go, and this is what I would be doing. I would go and break down who's the best or the tops in the conference, who is your particular matchup, right? What is successful about what they do or what role that they play? What do their numbers look like? What are their, on-court percentages and their touch percentages look like? And I would weigh that out. And I would say, are you measuring up? This is who you have to beat for us to beat them. Yeah. This is who you have to measure up to. This is what your numbers have to be for us to move up these rankings, right? You can literally go and break all of that down, match those players up, match those teams up, those organizations. What are they doing that's better than what we do? You know what I'm saying? And in order for us to step up to that level, this is what we're going to have to do. Are you doing that? You've now been checked. If you don't change, if you don't make adjustments, if you don't step up, you've had your opportunities. I've got to look elsewhere. And you'll be able to have those types of discussions with those players, right? And that's what I really think that's what you can't just look at stat sheets for any particular game. You got to look at the totality and the body and the embodiment of the work. When you do that, then you'll be able to have those real discussions. And then if parents start calling and they let's have a discussion with the parents too, you can do that same thing, right? You can send them a basic report card. That's the things. And that's why I think the company is going to be have so much value in the long run to be able to do stuff like that, because normally you just only have a certain amount of data, or you're able to go back and look at film, or you're able to, but to be able to, to tie some extra information to that, to be able to have those type of discussions, because that's what's needed right now in Nebraska. They need to have those real discussions.
Yeah, it needs to get pretty deep with the accountability, and hopefully that is starting there. We've seen, there a few games ago, I guess it's been a while now, but the benching players if they take bad shots and stuff like that. So but hopefully that's there. I mean, it's got to be there at the highest level at this point, because if you go down, I mean, part of the problem again with this season is that you feel like you're losing a lot of foundational pieces for what this is going into next year, whether that be some of those guys that had planned on this being their last year of ball, or Bryce McGowan's who's still slated to go in the first round by many mock drafts. So what do you have returning, what you have coming back? Then you start to worry about that, just because of the turnover in college basketball. And I mean, there's no other way to go around this. When you're selling those parents, or you're selling that kid, it's hard to be selling it based off the record that they have in the talent that they had on board, right? I mean, regardless of who they bring back, this is a team that should be doing better than what they are now. So if you want to say you're getting the most out of your players, it just doesn't feel that way right now for Nebraska basketball. Yeah,
you're going to have to you're going to have to do with what you've got, weigh and assess what may or possibly may leave, see what you can do best to draw that back, and take what's coming, because that's what you're going to have to work off of. Otherwise, you can go to the bottom of the doldrums even further, right? You can go to the bottom of the dungeon and may not see the light of getting out for a while. And then at that point, it's going to take another coach, because it's going to take some other flavor or change up the recipe, right? Yeah. At that point, that's what's going to have to happen, because this is what's coming. What you got for your recruiting class and the younger guys, that's got to be your foundation. And then you may have to add a couple of pieces here and there out of the transfer portal. That doesn't disrupt, but that hones in and focuses in on the identity that you establish. And I just don't think they have that.
It's fascinating. They're going to have to do something, get a few wins on the board to make this less of a toxic situation, so that the athletic director doesn't have to come out and give his vote of confidence or not, and have us all wonder whether there's belief from the athletic department or not. We'll talk about that next year with Brian Christopherson of Husker 24/7. BC will join us next. We'll break down Husker basketball, also a few Husker football notes as well. That's coming up next here on The Block.
.93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 330 North 48th Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
What are you doing, Sip?
I thought the chickens could use some more light in their lives.
So you're building what exactly?
It's a motion-censored switchboard. Duh.
Are you sure you know what you're doing?
Of course.
Ow! God! Ow! Seems like a job for a professional.
Just one more wire. Yep, there you go, right there.
Don't be like Sip. Call Joe at Ambition Electric for any of your electric needs at 402-217-3415.
This is your High School Minute.
With your Southeast Community College High School Minute, I'm Harrison Arns. In basketball, on Thursday, January 27th, Lincoln East edged out a win against Lincoln Southeast in their doubleheader. The boys won 58-52. Templemeyer led Lincoln East with 17 points in the win. The girls won 61-45. Lily Shaw for East had a big impact on offense with 27 points. Parkview Christian won over Cornerstone Christian 49-28. The Waverly girls lost to Blair 49-43. The Lincoln Lutheran girls won over Columbus Scotus with a strong defensive game. They allowed 3 points in the first period to set the tone, winning the game 46-29. In wrestling, Lincoln High won over Lincoln North Star in the North Star Triangular they outmatched North Star with 4 pins and a final score of 58-24. Omaha Bryan would still come out at first, defeating Lincoln High 60-16 and the Navigators 48-33. This has been your High School Minute, sponsored by Southeast Community College, with locations in Lincoln, Beatrice, and Milford. Learn more today at southeast.edu.
Parents, if you've been waiting for FDA approval to get your teen vaccinated, the time is now. The FDA has approved the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for use in preventing COVID-19. While this is the first vaccine to gain FDA approval, all COVID-19 vaccines have been proven to be effective against the coronavirus. Want to reduce your teen's risk of hospitalization while protecting yourself and your community? Get your teen vaccinated today. Visit vaccinate.ne.gov to get started.
These days, there are more reasons than ever to treat yourself to a great haircut at Great Clips with the online check-in app. So tell us, why do you check in?
I check in because I'm tired of hat hair. I check in because we all need a cut.
I check in so I can feel like me.
And I check in so I look good for you.
No matter why you check in, you'll check out with a great haircut and save time with our online check-in app. Great Clips. It's going to be great.
Old School with DP and J.
I learned this about the difference between the college game and the NFL. Every play is designed offensively and defensively for one guy to make a mistake, whether it's being out of your gap, forgetting the blitz, forgetting a check on offense, forgetting the snap count. In college, it might be explosive play, 15 yards, whatever you deem as explosive play. The pros,
all of them are house.
All of them are. The guy will hit his head on the goalpost.
93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Casey's General Store is giving you the chance at winning 2 free tickets to a Nebraska home basketball game this season. Stop by any Casey's location in Lincoln throughout basketball season, enter your name into the registration box, and you'll have a chance to win 2 tickets to an upcoming Nebraska basketball game. Every drawing will occur at least 24 hours before the game that has its selected winner. So make sure to get to any Casey's in Lincoln today for your chance at 2 free tickets for Nebraska men's basketball games.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Partly to mostly cloudy skies expected for the majority of the day, although we should break into some sunshine by this afternoon. High temps only around 38, northwest winds at around 10 to 15. Mainly clear tonight with a low dropping down to around 20. Tomorrow, an incredible warm-up on the way. We'll see mostly sunny skies with an afternoon high of 57. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you one of those people who thinks it's okay to drive stoned? I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You end up driving below the speed limit? It's no big deal, right? Wrong. The truth is, your reaction times slow way down when you're high. You not only put yourself in danger, but everyone around you. Talk about a buzzkill. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
When everything is changing, you need a store that's a constant. A store that has the brands your family loves and the value that you need. A store where you can stock up, pick up, and drive up. A store that's close to home and feels like home. A store that puts the health and safety of you and your family above all else. And a store that's always here to help. At Kohl's, we don't know what next year will look like. We just know that we'll be here for you no matter what. Kohl's, here today, here to stay. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back. Sure. Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back on the block here on 93.7 The Ticket. Myself, Jake Parkovin, and Eric Strickland, the Husker Hall of Famer, longtime NBA vet. We will be joined by BC of Husker 24/7 here in just a second to help break down that Nebraska basketball game and just the situation overall for the Huskers as they drop to 0-9 in conference play. What a reminder, too, is 5:25. We will bring on Cedric Sabalos. Were you ever teammates with Cedric?
Yeah, me and Seth played together we played together in Dallas.
Oh,
He
okay,
came
yeah.
over like my second year, I think, in Dallas. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He'll be a fun interview. Former slam dunk champion and all-star with the Lakers at one time. So lots to talk about with him there. But for now, we do have Brian Christopherson join us on the Honda of Lincoln hotline. Brian, how you doing? Recovering from last night's game still?
Yeah, I guess not totally unexpected, that result. But yeah, doing all right over here.
And I guess that's kind of the theme that we've seen from the reaction, I guess, from some newspaper columnists over the last overnight, I should say, is just that it's almost kind of zeroing in on on a bigger, larger discussion about whether this thing is going to work or not. Do you believe that if this continues to go down this path, that either Trev Alberts is going to have to do you think that it'll have to kind of give a vote of confidence, or just kind of let it play out moving forward, similar to what he did with Scott Frost, I suppose, after the 3-7 start? Do you think a vote of confidence would be needed?
Well, I don't know that he has to do anything in season, but certainly there's going to be a lot of intrigue, right after this season closes about, okay, what's the decision here, and what's sort of a detailed response of what he thinks about what he's seeing, because that's really what matters the most here, since he's in charge here, and he can press the button and eject this thing if he wants or continue on. But I do think as far until we get there, I think you want to see a team that can win a few games. If this thing goes like 1-19 or 1-18 or 0-for, it's a really tough sell. But at the other hand, I guess the other argument is, like, let's say they end up like 3-17. They pull out 3 games somehow, and I think some people right now are scratching their noggin trying to figure out how they're going to get to those 3. But let's say it's something like that. What is there a big difference between that and if they win 1 or 0? I don't know. Probably some perception difference, but the bottom line is it's in a really tough spot right now. And what makes it more difficult, and I've written this and I think I've said this on the show, is you don't know that a lot of the parts that are in play right now are going to be there next year. And so I think that makes it really difficult for a fan base when they're watching a team where, Bryce McGowan has a lot of potential in his game, but is he going to be around in a year? Are any of the guys who were on the floor last night in the last 5 minutes, how many of those guys are actually going to be part of the situation next season? And so that's where it's very difficult, because even if you do see positive signs from this team down the stretch, you're saying, okay, what does that matter as far as transferring it to next year if the guys aren't around? And so that's where I think it's very difficult for this fan base right now, and just the what we're seeing on the floor and some of the lack of boxing out, and just some key stuff, fundamentals that are being lost, it feels like.
Yeah, do you feel like this team, like a lot of bigger picture discussion stuff are popping up? Do you think that this team has the talent to win some of these games? Is that the problem, or is it that kind of that extra effort, like you said, maybe in rebounding, where they get rebounded? I don't know if they've won a rebounding battle this year.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a combination. I think they probably need to upgrade in talent in some areas, but let's be real. Before this season, people are pretty excited about how they had recruited and sort of how it looked on paper. I think they have enough talent to win a few more games than they have. They've certainly been in position to do that. This is a team that had enough on the floor to be ahead of Ohio State by 5 points with 37 seconds left, and they lack some of the basics to finish that game out in the last 30 seconds on a defensive possession, and obviously missed a couple of key free throws. So, I do think they need to, you've got to find, first off, that point guard who is in control of things. That guy who, when the ball's in his hands in the last 6-7 minutes, you trust him. You trust he's going to make the right decisions, know when to kick it out, know when to make, space for himself. I feel like that's really lacking in this team, and it shows in those critical situations. And then Fred Hoiberg mentioned it last night. What happens is when another team goes on a run, for whatever reason, this team just simply goes into one-on-one, like, okay, it's your turn, you take it. You know, and it really gets away from the offensive flow in those moments. And you saw that last night. I mean, when Nebraska sort of got pushed against the wall, you know, they had like a 5 or 6 minute span, maybe even a few minutes longer, where it felt like a lot of one-on-one basketball on the offensive end. And by that point, the game had already gotten away from them.
Yeah, Brian, that's one of the things that I definitely have talked about. One, the point guard situation, and then two, this is the part that I have a question for you about. Do you, in your observations, know what the identity of this team is?
No, and I mean that's the problem. I mean it's very tough to locate. You know, I think they tried to for a while coming out of the Christmas break, kind of you know, work some offense around Derek Walker, and Derek was really playing his butt off there. And but you know, Big Ten teams adjust to that too. They start to figure out what you're doing with and sort of how you're rolling with that. And I think they wanted to get Bryce McGowan's playing more downhill, getting to the basket, and I think he's done a little bit better job of that. And they have improved somewhat on the offensive end since Christmas. I think their percentage jumped where they were shooting. You know, they were shooting like 25% from 3-point range before that, and they were like 40% or 39% beyond the arc like the last 7 games before last night. So I guess you could say that they had taken some of what Fred Hoiberg was applying and put it to use, but you still feel like it's really disjointed when it's crunch time. And, you know, like last night, what was frustrating is, you know, it's a 9-point game, and it's maybe a long shot, but Nebraska's got the ball with 4.5 minutes left. They can't even get the ball inbounds, you know, and there's a steal, layup on the other end, then you get your pocket picked and a dunk on the other end, and the game's over. So there's just way too many wasted possessions, and that goes back to that point guard question. If you have a guy who you feel like is in charge, like a Trent Frazier at Illinois, where you're like, okay, that guy's got a handle on things in this tough moment, you feel a lot better, and Nebraska doesn't have that guy.
Well, and it's interesting too, watching, obviously a lot of people would point to Chucky Hepburn as a recruiting miss. Yeah. And that was kind of a talk going into that game, is just that broken bridge that seems between Nebraska, high school talent in Nebraska, because the University of Nebraska, because it's just been so long since they get that local talent. Do you see that as a big problem for them, or as long as they're recruiting at the level that they have been, does it matter to have the Nebraska flavor in the locker room?
I mean, it's a problem when you don't land a Chucky Hepburn. I knew that one was going to come back to bite Nebraska the moment he committed. And anybody who watched him throughout his high school career knew that that's the type of guy who, you talk about a guy who makes winning plays all throughout his career. He'd shown it locally to us. Like, he's a guy who takes as much pride in his defense and taking a charge as all that. I know, you know, one of the co-hosts on this show, Eric Strickland, was a guy who I know he took a lot of pride on that side of the ball, and how much a big part of his game that was. You can tell with Chucky, it's the same deal, where he does all those little things right. And the problem is, though, if you're an in-state kid, you're looking at what Nebraska's record is right now. And not only that, you're hearing all the talk. You're reading you're inside of it. You're inside the bubble where you hear every comment about Nebraska basketball. And right now it's a lot of sour commentary because of the play on the court and what the results are. And so that makes it, I think, doubly, triply hard to recruit in state, actually, because the kids are around it all the time and they hear what everybody's saying.
Yeah. My last question, BC, is this. One of the things Bach and I were kind of talking about before you joined us was that the thing about Nebraska is what you just alluded to. But on top of that is, I believe that they have a certain amount of time, that there needs to be some changes of some sort that happens within this structure. If there's no change in that record, that as it looks right now, there's no signature wins. There's going to be something that has to happen, whether it be with the staff or whether it be with the team, because my thought is they have whatever's coming now, what they have and who they need to try to bring back, but also what is their foundation going forward? Because after that, if you don't secure anything thereafter, you're pretty much done. I just would like to get your thought on that as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think they're going to have to, one way or another, if the decision is Fred's coming back for another year, you might have to make some changes within your staff. I mean, just like football did, where you freshen things up. And we'll see if that works for football, with Mark Whipple and Mickey Joseph and all those. But you would have to say at least there's sort of there's a kick in the pants, right? That's happened with football. You can kind of feel like there's an air of excitement, like, well, let's see what these guys do. And I think basketball might have to do a similar thing, even if you stick with the head guy and you show faith that he can turn this thing around. And then let's be honest, there's a lot riding on this recruiting class. And this is where it's tough for people because they heard a lot about the last recruiting class with Bryce and these different guys. And then, it hasn't quite panned out record-wise, and Wilhelm Breidenbach gets hurt halfway through the season. He was a guy you were kind of counting on to develop. But they're going to need this 2022 class, these guys like Denham Dawson and Jamarcus Lawrence and Blaze Keita, who's the 6'11" JUCO guy that they got coming. I mean, they're going to have to hit a high percentage on those guys. They have 4 guys coming in, and 3 of the 4 need to be guys. They need to be dudes who can really contribute and at least in some way right away. That's not a very convenient spot to be in or a comfortable spot, but that's where they're at. So I like what I've heard about, for instance, a young guy like Denham Dawson, who's already in the program and isn't playing yet, and he's like diving on the floor and stuff. But you need a whole roster. You need 4 or 5 guys at least who are sort of around for a few years, who are showing other guys, this is how we do it here. This is how we practice, and this is how we go about things. And that's where it's tough when you're just kind of remodeling every year.
One final question for you before we let you go quickly on the football side. I saw, I saw an offer out to a kid named Boodle, and of course that reminds you of DiCaprio Boodle, who's now playing with the Chiefs. He was kind of he was like the lone satellite camp type of get for Nebraska. Is his brother significantly under recruited as well, or is he rising up the rankings pretty quickly?
No, that's a good memory by you. You're right. DiCaprio was. Remember the satellite camp craze? He was a guy who was Nebraska found down in South Florida at one of those. And his brother is about the same size. So he's not like a long corner. He's like a 5'10", 5'11" guy. But he has more offers. He's got an offer from like Michigan and Ole Miss too. He's got about 15 of them. Wisconsin's kind of kicking the tires on him. So he's a good player. Obviously, he has a relationship with Travis Fisher from his brother, and he knows about Nebraska football. So I think they got a decent shot at him. But it's hard to read. I talked to him last night, and he's keeping it wide open. He's got a lot of time on his hands to decide. But yeah, that's always interesting when a familiar name gets offered, and he'd be a good pickup, I think. And Travis Fisher's a coach who I would say Nebraska fans do have some faith in that he's sort of going to evaluate guys properly and offer who should get offered.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be exciting to get another Boodle on campus if they do end up getting it. But in any case, thank you for your time today. He's Brian Christopherson of Husker 24/7. Brian, have an excellent weekend.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, there he goes, BC of Husker 24/7. We got to take a quick break, but when we come back, it's time for Shootout with Strick. Your chance to win $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. All you have to do is beat Strick in our little game show that is called Shootout with Strick. Today, we're going to go based off of Fred Hoiberg's conference record. We're going to compare it to past Husker coaches and just past coaches overall. So I'm basically just going to give you an over-under of their win total through 48 games. You give me over-under. It's easy. So, I mean, you only have one choice or the other, except for the money ball, which you'll just have to throw a number out there. So it's not too hard. Just give us a call, 402-464-5685. If you beat Strick, you walk home with $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. That's next, right here on the block on 93.7 The Ticket.
Now what do? Football is over. The weather's crappy. Man, I tell you what, it's a perfect time to go car shopping. This is Carl from Price Right Auto. Come out to Price Right in West O, and you'll find over 100 great vehicles at some great prices. With our non-commissioned sales process, we let you control the sale. We won't let you get a lemon since we back every one of our vehicles with our Peace of Mind 3-month warranty. If you want a hassle-free car buying experience, check out our website, PriceRightAuto.com. Come see a great selection of affordable used cars on West O Street at Price Right Auto.
Old School with DP and J.
And I learned this about the difference between the college game and the NFL. Every play is designed offensively and defensively for one guy to make a mistake, whether it's being out of your gap, forgetting the blitz, forgetting a check on offense, forgetting the snap count. In college, it might be explosive play, 15 yards, whatever you deem as explosive play. The pros,
all of them are house.
All of them are. The guy will hit his head on the goalpost.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Casey's General Store is giving you the chance at winning 2 free tickets to a Nebraska home basketball game this season. Stop by any Casey's location in Lincoln throughout basketball season. Enter your name into the registration box, and you'll have a chance to win 2 tickets to an upcoming Nebraska basketball game. Every drawing will occur at least 24 hours before the game that has its selected winner. So make sure to get to any Casey's in Lincoln today for your chance at 2 free tickets for Nebraska men's basketball games.
These days, there are more reasons than ever to treat yourself to a great haircut at Great Clips with the online check-in app. So tell us, why do you check in?
I check in because I'm tired of hat hair. I check in because we all need a cut.
I check in so I can feel like me.
And I check in so I look good for you.
No matter why you check in, you'll check out with a great haircut and save time with our online check-in app. Great Clips. It's going to be great.
Hey, sports fans. Rico here with HIS Auto Care 70th and Van Dorn. Carfax recently awarded us as the top-rated auto service center for 2020, and Lincoln Choice Awards voted us as the 2021 top independent auto repair center. Call us at 402-488-8934 for superior service bumper to bumper. Mention this ad and get 7% off. Doesn't get any better than that. Rico for his Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
And now a limerick from the world of Yum. There once was a man in a bind. He's got the best wife in all mankind. And with Valentine's Day not that far away, he needs the greatest gift he can find. Jewelry can be hit or miss, and that vacuum was quickly dismissed. Flowers, they die. Homemade, don't be that guy. But what about that bakery in Beatrice? Liqueur cakes, you'll eat every crumb. Fruit cakes made with brandy, bourbon, and rum. And those chocolate cake squares. Do I have to drive you there? Get yourself to the world of Yum.
93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Sponsored by Security First Bank. A relationship you can count on.
Partly to mostly cloudy skies expected for the majority of the day, although we should break into some sunshine by this afternoon. High temps only around 38. Northwest winds at around 10 to 15. Mainly clear tonight with a low dropping down to around 20. Tomorrow, an incredible warm-up on the way. We'll see mostly sunny skies with an afternoon high of 57. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from Certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
Are you one of those people who thinks it's okay to drive stoned? I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You end up driving below the speed limit? It's no big deal, right? Wrong. The truth is, your reaction times slow way down when you're high. You not only put yourself in danger, but everyone around you. Talk about a buzzkill. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
When everything is changing, you need a store that's a constant. A store that has the brands your family loves and the value that you need. A store where you can stock up, pick up, and drive up. A store that's close to home and feels like home. a store that puts the health and safety of you and your family above all else, and a store that's always here to help. At Kohl's, we don't know what next year will look like. We just know that we'll be here for you no matter what. Kohl's, here today, here to stay. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
It's time to play Shootout with Strick. Call now, 464-5685, to take your shot against Eric Strickland. Shootout with Strick. Brought to you by Buffalo Wings and Rings.
Time to play the game!
It is time to play the game Shootout with Strick. We'll do that in just 1 second. I did want to tell you about this news, though. Just saw Mitch Sherman tweet this out from The Athletic. Jordan Riley, Nebraska defensive lineman, has entered the transfer portal. Bad news for the Huskers, as he maybe was projected to be one of the starters on the defensive line there, at least in my mind, along with Casey Rogers and Ty Robinson. So there hasn't been a whole lot of depth on that defensive line. That's something they haven't been able to add too much from the transfer portal, or at all from the transfer portal. It might be more important than ever now to land a guy there. So kind of bad news, but we'll talk more about that at the top of the hour. For now, let's get to our game show today. Doug is the contestant. Doug, how are you feeling? Have you been following, I suppose, Fred Hoiberg and his record so far at Nebraska?
Yep, I have. I went to Iowa State.
Oh, you went to Iowa State, too. That might help you out a little bit here in a second as well. But first, we'll have Strick go so that he can give the over-under totals for the first 48 games for each of these coaches. We looked at the first conference games, the first 48 for each of these teams. That's where Fred Hoiberg's at right now, 5-43. So I'm just going to give you the win total. You tell me if it's over or under in those certain coaches' situations. Is that pretty clear to you, Strick?
Yeah.
All right. Then we can do it. We'll start in 3, 2, 1. Did Doc Sadler at Nebraska, did he have more than 20 or 19 wins? Over or under?
Over.
That's right. He had 21. Tom Izzo, over under 33 wins.
Over.
Actually, under. He had 28. Tim Miles, over under 24 wins.
Under.
It was under. He had 21. Jay Wright, over under 26 wins at Villanova.
Over.
He actually had under. How many wins did Fred Hoiberg have at Iowa State through 48 games?
4, 3, 2, 1.
20.
Actually, 24. So you get 2 points there, but not a bad score for you. At least a formidable score for Doug to try to compete with. Doug, are you ready?
Yep, I am.
All right. Again, this is the first 48 games of conference play. I'll give you the number. You give me an over or under. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Coach K at Duke, did he have over or under 19 wins through his first 48?
Over.
He actually had under. Barry Collier, did he have over or under 14 wins at Nebraska?
Under.
He actually had over. He had 16. Roy Williams, over or under 31 at Kansas?
Under.
He actually had over 32. Thad Matta, at Ohio State, over or under 36?
Under.
That's right, he had 35. How many did John Calipari have for the win at Kentucky? 22. It's actually 40. Sorry to interrupt you there, but either way, it turns out that Strick gets the win today. But fear not, Doug. You, along with everybody else, can still win the chicken. The third caller right now will win the chicken.
Can I get a hell yeah?
Yeah,
Victory.
We'll give you your victory here in a second. First, you've earned yourself, Strick, a boom shakalaka. And then, of course, we get your flawless victory in there. So congratulations to Strick getting a win, heading off to the weekend in a good fashion. Once again, third caller to 402-464-5685, including Doug, can win the $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. So give us a call now and try to win that.
That was a tough one. That was a good game, though. That is not easy when you think about it, because you just think about their end totals. You think about the success at the end. You don't really think about when they first showed up, what they really did.
Well, you have to overcome. Like Coach K, I feel like I maybe set him up there because Coach K was 15-33 through his first 48 at Duke. That's tough to even imagine. But some of those are very interesting. Of course, Fred Hoiberg 5-43. I didn't find anybody with near that bad of a record, but there it is. Again, for the Nebraska guys, if you're interested, Doc Sadler 21-27 through his first 48. Again, compared that to the 5 that Hoiberg has right now. Tim Miles also 21-27 through his first 48. Barry Collier 16-32. Actually, the same record as Danny Nee through his first 48, also 16-32. So maybe that's a little bit of hope if you're looking forward for Fred Hoiberg. But we'll take a quick break. When we come back again this next hour, very excited to be joined by Cedric Sabalas, at 5:25. Coming up next, we might talk a little bit about that Jordan Riley news we just mentioned as he's off to the transfer portal, but also about Texas A&M allegedly having paid $30 million for their top-ranked recruiting class. Nick Saban is calling for NIL regulation. So we'll talk a little bit about that next. That's coming up next here on The Block.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from Certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com. 93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 330 North 48th Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
And now a limerick from the world of Yum.
There once was a man in a bind. He's got the best wife in all mankind. And with Valentine's Day not that far away, he needs the greatest gift he can find. Jewelry can be hit or miss, and that vacuum was quickly dismissed. Flowers, they die. Homemade, don't be that guy. But what about that bakery in Beatrice? Liqueur cakes, you'll eat every crumb. Fruit cakes made with brandy, bourbon, and rum. And those chocolate cake squares. Do I have to drive you there? Get yourself to the world of Yum.
At Buffalo Wings and Rings, they've crafted a new league of superior chicken sandwiches. Meet the Ringers. It's premium, house-made, beer-battered, fried chicken served buffalo, Korean, or MVP style. Head to Buffalo Wings and Rings Lincoln and raise a glass to superior chicken. 2 locations at 68th and O and at 40th and Old Cheney. Buffalo Wings and Rings.
In every office, there's 2 types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe. 93.7 The Ticket. Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by Security First Bank. A relationship you can count on.
Partly to mostly cloudy skies expected for the majority of the day, although we should break into some sunshine by this afternoon. High temps only around 38. Northwest winds at around 10 to 15. Mainly clear tonight with a low dropping down to around 20. Tomorrow, an incredible warm-up on the way. We'll see mostly sunny skies with an afternoon high of 57. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Casey's General Store is giving you the chance at winning 2 free tickets to a Nebraska home basketball game this season. Stop by any Casey's location in Lincoln throughout basketball season. Enter your name into the registration box, and you'll have a chance to win 2 tickets to an upcoming Nebraska basketball game. Every drawing will occur at least 24 hours before the game that has its selected winner. So make sure to get to any Casey's Casey's in Lincoln today for your chance at 2 free tickets for Nebraska men's basketball games.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for 3. And you're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
93.7 The Ticket veteran and Creed stan Jake Bakoven.
I love that band, Creed.
Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Hold up.
Yeah. The block is hot. Welcome back to the On the Block with Strick and Bach. I'm E. Strick. You're joining us here at 93.7 The Ticket FM, and my partner Bach. We're in the second hour of On the Block, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in football, dealing with the NIL a little bit. There's a little bit of, is it cringe-worthy, or is it something that is needed to be considered? There are some greats that have kind of weighed in on it. They've had their little discussions on it. We're going to have our discussion right here on the block. Also, text us if you want to join in the discussion at 402-464-5685 on the Sutter-Heyman text line. Also, you may be able to call in. Maybe you can get on the line and voice your opinion on the Honda Lincoln hotline at 402-464-5685. We want to hear from you. Also, smash that like button if you're joining us here on the YouTube channel that we have at 93.7 The Ticket as well. Now we're going to get into this. Texas A&M, it is rumored, it is alleged. We don't know for sure what the actual number is. Some are saying that it's worth about 25 to 30 meal tickets. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to kind of weigh it out and say, what is it that Jimbo and the crew to be able to land some odd 4 stars, like 19 4 stars and 5 and one about to commit a 5 stars. What are they doing? What is in the cooking down there at College Station that's driving all these kids to want to go there in the SEC as opposed to the usual suspects of Georgia and Alabama? Bach, so one of the things that's kind of crazy about it, right, is the rankings, they popped. We saw on a consistent basis over the last, let's say, 5 to 7 years, we've just seen a switch. They're dancing and they just switching, between Georgia and Alabama with regards to the top spot. Every now and then you'll see Clemson maybe pop their head up in there or somebody like that. But for the most part, it's been Alabama and Georgia. So what is in the cooking? What's going on with the NIL? And also, how does Saban and Kirby Smart, what is their thoughts on it based on what's going on in the 30 meal ticket that they dropped by the booster? They got a lot of paperwork down there.
Yeah, apparently they do. College Station has the right boosters around them. It's fascinating. For what it's worth, they do have the number one ranked recruiting class, have more 5 stars than anybody else in the nation, outpacing Georgia and Alabama, like you mentioned, the other teams that would be right up there. And I thought it was interesting too, because the Florida job, as that opened up, I mean, Texas A&M has been doing this all along, right? I mean, the NIL opened up in the summer, I believe, for college football. So they were able to jump on it right away. And so Jimbo Fisher was asked, as the Florida job came open, how interested he would be, or there was kind of rumors there. And he said, to play against my number 1 ranked recruiting class every year, I don't.
Why would you?
Yeah.
If you got that kind of paperwork, I mean, I love Florida, Bach, but doggone it, I don't know if they got that kind of paperwork working down there in Florida. I think they got great boosters, but
yeah.
Go ahead.
That's what's interesting, because we do think, like, when all this happened, right? You're thinking, okay, Alabama, this is just going to separate the Alabamas and the Ohio States and the USCs, and they're all going to make that difference. But what we've seen so far in NIL is Texas A&M taking the lead on that. A team that's maybe is still a tradition-rich team, a very has a very good history, but maybe not top tier in college football. And now we're seeing, with the rumors to Wisconsin for Caleb Williams, the same type of thing, right? That the second, third tier down, those programs are looking to make the biggest moves out of the NIL rather than those top ones, because those top ones were already there. And so that's why I think, the Nick Sabans of the world, and especially kind of the older coaches that have done it a certain way a long time, they want parameters set. They want changes to be made to make sure that this thing doesn't get out of hand. While some of the other schools that aren't currently at the top, they don't, they're not the best recruiting schools. They do what they can, like I said, Wisconsin and Texas A&M, but they're using this opportunity to propel them into that stratosphere because they have the right donors and the right guys to get them up in that level to be the number one team. So it's just fascinating to see. And I think it's interesting too, because you hear this kind of from Roy Williams. This is cross sport now, going to basketball, but part of the reason he was ready to step down is because of the changing landscape of NIL and all that stuff that was going to change the way recruiting in college basketball looked. So, you wonder, from those kind of older school coaches who've done it the same way for a long time, they're not going to like it. They don't like change. They've had success the previous way, so they're not going to be happy to see it. But it is the changing landscape of college football, and whoever steps up and makes those moves, especially I think initially, is going to get a jump on the rest of the teams.
Let's be honest about it, right? I mean, I come from Nebraska, the university. I come from that aspect and the recruiting parts. Tom Osborne was around. He also recruited me. Nebraska having the cleanest program in the nation. We know a lot of our organizations dropped the bag. We don't like to all talk about it, but we know the bag was being dropped. But now it's just like legalization of marijuana. It's like, the hustler on the corner was dropping it off, on the low on the sneak, but now, the dirty programs of the day was dropping it off on the sneak. Now all of a sudden, all you got to do is go to the dispensary of the Booster Club and get the NIL cracking. So it's just become legal out there. It's a free for all. The question is, Bach, at the end of the day, does this equivocate other organizations? Would this raise the bar of a Syracuse, or raise the bar of a Florida State, or raise the bar of an NC State, giving them the opportunity to be able to equivocate themselves with the bigger programs that are out there, right? Because when you look at Texas A&M, yes, Texas A&M is rich. Yes, they've got a great donor base, but do they have as much as Texas? We'll see if they're able to jump in there. But that's a question I want to ask. Does it equivocate now other programs, even though they may be smaller in their stature? But would it be able to raise their bar jumping into this NIL play?
I think it allows it presents the opportunity, right? It's still those power programs. The money has been funneling into them because they are power programs, right? So, I mean, they've been able to build this following and to get these donors that have been on board for the longest time. They're going to be more, it's hard just to all of a sudden with it open, unless you have, somebody that's just huge alumni that can all of a sudden funnel the money in. It usually has been happening already through the university or to the university, and now it's just kind of changing hands now towards those players. So it's usually still kind of the thought for me is still the rich stay rich, right? Or the rich get richer or whatever. It's going to be the same type of schools competing at the top of the NIL, but there are a few schools that have jumped that level, right? Like we said with Texas A&M, and it's very important for them to do that, right? They right now are the lone Texas representation within the SEC. That was kind of their big deal when they jumped over to the SEC, was to bring Texas in. Now all of a sudden Texas and Oklahoma are joining. Texas A&M drops a little bit in the prestige rankings as far as the SEC goes, which means less power in those rooms when you're talking to them. So they've got to make that move, and they've hired Jimbo Fisher. They've now got that top-ranked recruiting class, and obviously they beat Alabama this last year. The success on the field, it seems to be following, or at least you would think it would at some point, with Jimbo Fisher being a national championship coach in the past. So I think that it can, certainly if you have the right donors in place. But I think that for the longest time too, arguing on behalf of the players and the players getting this, I've always thought that it would be very good for Nebraska, right? Maybe they're not that top tier, top 10 program as far as donors and all that stuff, but they're up there, like top 25, top 15, whatever. So I think that it will continue to help Nebraska. And for certain schools, if you can buy in the right donors, I mean, you think of Michigan State, really like put out a blank check for Mel Tucker. I don't know how much that helped with their initial class in the transfer portal, but you would expect that moving forward, the Big Ten schools, the SEC schools, that kind of have those bigger fan bases will be able to separate themselves a little bit more and at least move up. I don't know if it's for Michigan State moving up to number 1, but moving up from maybe 25 to 18th, and that would be a big deal for them.
Well, at this point, Texas A&M is the don of the NIL, and Mel Tucker's the don of the transfer portal, unless, Frost gets something turned around in this upcoming season. One of the things that I think, as I was looking over the information of what we're discussing and looking into Saban and how they're doing things, I just love Saban's approach, right? Saban, he doesn't look at it from a standpoint that the NIL is a situation that needs to be overly regular. He realizes he has to make the adjustment, right? Like, you said some coaches may not actually like it because of the change. I just love how he's pliable and he understands that, we got to get in where we fit in. It's just going to be part of the game. Yeah, I used to dominate the old method, but let me go ahead and dominate this method too. I just got to switch it up. So, but he would like to see some, just some restraints on it, because it can get pretty ugly if you really think about it. It just like in anything that's just a wild, wild west, it can become wild. So at the end of the day, I love the way he looked at it from this standpoint too, is that the thing you have to manage when you're looking at this NIL situation is not necessarily only the money or the donors or whatever the situation is there. You have to manage inside the locker room. And I love that his take on that. I love that he understands the next level of it, right? Because just like in the NFL, right? When you're looking at the Green Bay Packers, you're looking at Aaron Rodgers in the locker room. He's got the big check, making the $24 million. You're looking at the linemen making the $1 million, the $2 million. But then you're also looking at Aaron Rodgers, doing the State Farm with the Rodgers rate. You see what I'm saying? So he's getting the big that. So in essence, the way that Saban is looking at it, he understands that Bryce Young is approaching the 7-figure range as far as that. That's it. So then his linemen or whatever, if they're complaining or they're all upset about the fact that he's getting all this paper, well, Nick Saban's understanding the next discussions that need to be made within that locker room is that, well, it is what it is. Get used to it, baby, because it's the same way in the NFL. Yeah. I'm producing NFL players now, it is what it is, baby. Aaron Rodgers, who else? Tom Brady. We can just go down the whole list, right? Of all the top tier quarterbacks. Get in, baby. That's how it's it. That's how it is.
Yeah. We always get those commercials there. Even Baker Mayfield's always at the taking money. I always think of Donovan McNabb with the Chucky Soup.
Yeah,
but yeah, they get a majority of the NIL opportunities, right? Because they're kind of the faces of the program. But I do find that fascinating, what you said, kind of, and you're right, it does project to the next level. It's the same type of situation there, where there are going to be different guys making different amounts of money, but does that change how you coach them? Are they a bigger asset if your donors that you have to rub elbows with all the time have spent so much money on them? Or there's a perfect example was Oklahoma, right, where Spencer Rattler had 2 cars from and probably a lot more as NIL opened up, and they eventually went with Caleb Williams, who probably didn't have anywhere near that type of NIL money. And now Caleb Williams, of course, is going to be cashing in on that. But to make those decisions is fascinating, and it reminds me of something we've talked about too with Frank Vogel and the Lakers, to make that pro comparison with Russell Westbrook. Are you allowed to, like, you need the idea there with the Lakers was that Frank Vogel got permission from management to be able to bench Russell Westbrook. And the reason he needs permission as the head coach is because the investment in Russell Westbrook. So it's going to be fascinating to see how that trickulates down to the college level with these head coaches. And can you make those moves as easily, or do you need to talk with the big time donors?
There's a great point. And I just love his mind. I was just so intrigued by his mind, right? The way that Saban looks at it is unusual, as the way that probably just the average Joe Blow or just a regular coach would look at this situation, right? He would think that it would provide more power in the opposite manner. Well, he says the dynamic of it is that it gives more power to Saban over the players. That's the way he sees it, right? He's like, this enhances my power right now. The dynamic of the transfer portal is like free agency. It gives power to the kids. NIL, he says, he feels as if it gives more power back to the coaches, in that basically it provides them with an opportunity for the coach. You have to make the coach happy in order to get on the field so you can get NIL money. So you gotta go out, you gotta show and prove, you gotta step up, you gotta show every week, you gotta be consistent, you gotta do the job, you gotta figure out a way to compete to get on the field. Period. You want the big money, work it out. And so he feels as if that's the way that it's gonna help them to be able to maintain the power as coaches, to get the players and to get the most out of the players who is pursuing the bag.
I want to head to the Starter Heyman text line too, 402-464-5685 if you want to chime in. I've seen some interesting discussions there. Brev says need to set a salary cap on the NFL or on the NIL. That would certainly be interesting. It would somewhat take away from the idea of it, right? Is that you kind of have the open, on your name and likeness and all that. You can make as much money as you can, just like anybody, like you or I can at this point. So I don't know if the salary cap would help kind of clean it up to a degree, but I kind of like Major League Baseball's no salary cap and letting it be as wild as it can be. Augie says, I agree with VJ that the NIL money should be banked for the players until they graduate or get drafted. Give them a percentage, but give them a reason to stick around. Again, I think that maybe that this could be done. And of course, if you have a governing body, an organization like the NCAA, maybe you could restrict it that way. But again, I think that takes away a little bit from the overall idea of letting these players be free and able to make whatever money they can with their name. Because I mean, you'd really have to get into that. Like, right? When do they graduate? Or if they don't graduate, if they want to transfer, do they get the money? All that sort of stuff. It's a weird conversation to have, putting limits on this.
That point though, something I just thought about as he made that point on the text line. I think there should be something involved where you don't get all the bag, that you get a percentage that is put aside into some investment, into something like that. Whereas if whatever happens with your career, it goes similar to what happened with Allen Iverson, right? What Reebok did with Allen Iverson. Reebok basically, I think, put $40 million into some investment account that accrued some interest. And then once he reaches a certain age, he's able to pull all that money out. I think if you secure whatever, a small percentage or a percentage of that money, I think that would be beneficial to the players in some form or fashion, where they just don't secure the whole bag, but they get a good percentage of it. I think that's something to look into, because now you're looking as if you're helping. The NIL is a part of helping. It is not just a part of trying to grab all the cashola. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's interesting because you're right. I mean, for a lot of these kids, especially, it's the same thing at the next level. Like if you're not taught about finances, you'll blow through all your finances and you end up not having a whole lot.
Start teaching them.
Yeah. So, I think that certainly if there's not that a class in place, and we've talked about this for years, everybody has, is that really needs to be in the NFL. I think the NBA, though, they have kind of introduced those sort of things as well. But it is interesting at that point, still, taking money away from the kid that he currently has earned, and holding on to it until whatever needs to be achieved. It's a little bit strange, but at the same time, I see it as protecting their assets for them. But maybe that's something that can be suggested, but not necessarily mandated, I suppose.
Yeah,
hold on to somebody's money they earned.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's very interesting, and you kind of wonder where the power would come from somebody to start to govern this. That's why we call it the Wild Wild West. I mean, it's hard to know where that would come from, but there certainly needs to be help along the way, and more help than has been there in the past for those kids. Because I mean, it's already hard to for a lot of people to kind of see a kid go for get that big come up right once he turns 22 or whatever. But when these guys are getting now in recruiting. It's not so much the retention of the players all the time; it's recruiting. So it's a kid fresh out of high school. We were all idiots fresh out of high school.
Big facts. And some points our parents were too. So it's not like
right.
I mean, let's just be honest. I'm not even being funny about it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is that their family, their friends, they get all that money. There's a lot of people looking with open hands about, hey, I helped you, or we're friends, or this or that.
That part.
So there's definitely might be a need for some sort of at least a program to help these kids that are getting big chunks of NIL money.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, great discussion. Thanks for texting into the text line, also for your questions and answers. Thank you for joining us again at 93.7 The Ticket. We're gonna have my boy, my friend, my partner, my homie, Seth Sabalas is going to be joining us when we come back after the break, right here on 93.7 The Ticket. After this.
Parents, if you've been waiting for FDA approval to get your teen vaccinated, the time is now. The FDA has approved the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for use in preventing COVID-19. While this is the first vaccine to gain FDA approval, all COVID-19 vaccines have been proven to be effective against the coronavirus. Want to reduce your teen's risk of hospitalization while protecting yourself and your community? Get your teen vaccinated today. Visit vaccinate.ne.gov to get started.
At Buffalo Wings and Rings, they've crafted a new league of superior chicken sandwiches. Meet the Ringers. It's premium, house-made, beer-battered, fried chicken served buffalo, Korean, or MVP style. Head to Buffalo Wings and Rings Lincoln and raise a glass to superior chicken. 2 locations at 68th and O and at 40th and Old Cheney. Buffalo Wings and Rings.
In every office, there's 2 types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
Are you one of those people who thinks it's okay to drive stoned? I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You end up driving below the speed limit? It's no big deal, right? Wrong. The truth is, your reaction times slow way down when you're high. You not only put yourself in danger, but everyone around you. Talk about a buzzkill. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
When everything is changing, you need a store that's a constant. A store that has the brands your family loves and the value that you need. A store where you can stock up, pick up, and drive up. A store that's close to home and feels like home. A store that puts the health and safety of you and your family above all else. And a store that's always here to help. At Kohl's, we don't know what next year will look like. We just know that we'll be here for you no matter what. Kohl's, here today, here to stay. See store or Kohls.com for details.
93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Sponsored by Security First Bank. A relationship you can count on.
Partly to mostly cloudy skies expected for the majority of the day, although we should break into some sunshine by this afternoon. High temps only around 38. Northwest winds at around 10 to 15. Mainly clear tonight with the low dropping down to around 20. Tomorrow, an incredible warm-up on the way. We'll see mostly sunny skies with an afternoon high of 57. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, this is Sean Callahan with Koppel Chevrolet GMC. New vehicle production has been increasing, but the lots will not be filling up anytime soon. In fact, most vehicles are being pre-sold and are leaving the same week as they arrive. If you want your new Chevrolet or GMC, this is a great time to build a vehicle and place an order. Our sales team will work right with you to build the exact vehicle you want. At Koppel, we appreciate your business and sell vehicles at a fair price. So come check us out or visit us online at koppelcars.com.
Your home should not be a zoo to unwelcomed animals. Let the experts at Bats to Rats take care of those problems. Dan has been a leader in wildlife and pest management and prevention in Lincoln and the surrounding area for 15 years. He can help you get rid of bats, rodents, and anything else. Whether it's residential or commercial buildings, schools, apartments, or churches, they're always a phone call away. Call today at 402-310-0904 or visit batsterats.com. Bats to Rats Wildlife Control and Prevention.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for youth.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals into your body.
And nicotine, which can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media.
Many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping.
Sponsored by SAMHSA and Nebraska DHHS. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Casey's General Store is giving you the chance at winning 2 free tickets to a Nebraska home basketball game this season. Stop by any Casey's location in Lincoln throughout basketball season. Enter your name into the registration box, and you'll have a chance to win 2 tickets to an upcoming Nebraska basketball game. Every drawing will occur at least 24 hours before the game that has its selected winner. So make sure to get to any Casey's in Lincoln today for your chance at 2 free tickets for Nebraska men's basketball games.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Yeah, the block is hot, baby. You know how we do it on the block, my man. Yeah. Welcome to the block. I got my guy joining us right here, and it's hot off the press. E. Strick, my man Jake Bakoven, and my boy, my homie, my friend Cez Ceballos joining us on the block tonight. Had a wonderful career, great, not only partner, great teammate, but not only that, a great friend. Some highlights about Ced: he is the one and only dunk contest champion that did it blindfolded. He also had and spent some time, one of his years in the Lakers, he led in field goal percentage at 56.6 in 92 and 93. He did that with the Suns when they went to the championship. That's my bad. He also, with the Lakers, got busy, put in that mad work, and became an all-star with the Lakers in 94 and 95, and then had a little injury or two, joined us in Dallas where we did some work and helped Dallas to turn that organization around. Ced, welcome to the block today, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Y'all don't understand. Coming in that intro music would put Eric on another plateau before. Now he's calm. This is the calm Eric Strickland y'all getting right now. That one that used to walk through the locker room before the games, ready, just pumped up. That's not the guy that you guys get. You get the calm guy right now.
Yeah, they don't know the old sticky. They don't know the old sticky. They don't know 9. Yeah, they don't know 9. They just know he's strict. You know what I'm saying? But
yes, sir.
Ced,
yes, sir.
Yeah, man, welcome to the block again. So, some of the things we want to talk to you about, man, you're doing some wonderful things right now. We'll get into that, man. We'd love to get your, Twitter handles and information about what you're doing on the radio show. It's phenomenal. I got a chance to listen to it. Also, it's the curfew, right? You're doing the curfew too. You're still doing that, right?
Yeah. The curfew is just when we had this pandemic going on, everybody started DJing and going on streaming online, and that was one of the things I started doing, just calling it curfew, because there's really no time to it. No matter how long we go, we just kind of just roll with the vibe. Music can go anywhere, but just showing some relief to these people who are getting cabin fever, at the time, and obviously some things has opened up now, but it was tough, and people needed a place to release or just try to enjoy themselves while they were stuck in the house.
No doubt. So, said in your time, just kind of give us a little relay, because you came in kind of unsung. Nobody really, you were a little unique, different type of player. Your style was unique. You were very crafty with the ball, and you didn't look like the most athletic dude, but you would bust another head open. By the time they look at it, and they got a 50 piece on them. So tell us kind of how you came in. You came from Cal State Fullerton.
Right.
And
so
then, how did it
my
work for you?
story, my story is it's a unique one, to be honest with you guys. I mean, I wasn't the all everything at the park, all everything in high school, junior high, all that. I didn't get recruited out of high school. I played 1 year varsity. I barely played that year. A guy named Ronnie Coleman, he went on to USC, left-handed guy. He ended up breaking his wrist. He was ahead of me. The last game of the season, last conference game of the season. So I got to start and end up losing to Stacey Augmon in the championship in the LA County. But those 5 games, nobody had heard of me. Nobody was, on me. So I just, considered myself one. I had grades to go, but nobody recruited me. So I had to go to junior college because financial situations, and somebody got hurt then. A guy named Kevin Venable. He was an all LA Junior College All-American, and he got hurt the 6th game into the season, and I got portrayed up into the starting lineup and became All-American. We ended up winning state that year, and that's where it kind of just started snowballing. The following year became All-American too, and then I got some recruiting letters, LSU, UCLA, and then I ended up going to Fullerton because my older brother had signed with Fullerton before me. And so I got to visit him. I knew the coaching staff. I was real comfortable with the area. I still wanted moms. We lived in Los Angeles, so I still wanted moms to be able to come see me.
And eat.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And that's the biggest thing. And so that, just being in the comfort zone, I didn't have my mind on going pro at all. That was not my objective. I wanted to play. I wanted to go to a place where I can play 2 more years because I enjoyed playing. I grew up sitting on the bench. I sat the bench all of high school. Again, I told you 1 year varsity. So I got comfortable those 2 years in junior college just playing the whole game. I mean, so I wanted to do that. I got an opportunity to have some big games against UNLV, Larry Johnson, Stacey Augmon, Tarkanian, that whole crew. And obviously, Anderson Hunt. I mean, they had all kind of pros, Greg Anthony. So me putting up the numbers I was putting up against guys who were supposed to go first pick, second pick, top 10 picks in the NBA, people started giving me a look. But again, they really didn't know nothing about me. I got fortunate to be the second to the last pick in the draft to the Phoenix Suns. And this is a big thing, especially when I went to the front office side. I really expressed on getting to the right program is so important.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's so many great players that we never see because the draft is wrong for them. If I would have went to a Detroit out of college, I would have never made the NBA. They had a discipline on defense. Chuck Daly, they walked the ball up the court. They ran when they could, but I was a up and down guy. Going to the Phoenix Suns was perfect. Paul Westphal was the assistant coach there. He was a key model and drafted me. Cotton Fitzsimmons, rest his soul, was the head coach, and they wanted to run up and down the court. And it fit my style perfectly. So hats off to all the GMs and the guys out there scouting, because if they get it right, I changed my life. I changed my family's life because of a scout, for guys out there looking at players like myself, and they get it right to put them on the right team.
Why not jumping forward a little bit? Obviously, you'll probably get asked about this a lot, but that slam dunk championship that you did have, what is it kind of like to be to go about? I mean, how did you get invited to that game? How did you become somebody that would get an invite, and then what brought you to the idea of obviously the blindfold?
Yeah, well, getting an invite, they see you getting dunks in games. You make the highlight reel. At the time, Inside Stuff was the big thing on NBC, and if you got Rewind or you got Dunks of the Week or whatever, they would kind of like, okay, this guy's known to be a dunker. So that's what really got you into the contest. let's back up a little bit. They had a college senior classic in Orlando. Before we got drafted, you would go showcase yourself. I think they moved it to Phoenix after it was in Orlando, and they had a dunk contest, and I ended up winning the dunk contest. And it's ironic that the person that I beat in that dunk contest was D Brown. So D Brown goes to the Celtics. I go to Phoenix. I don't get to play. We got Dan Marley. We got Xavier McDaniels, Eddie Johnson. I don't get to play. D Brown, they're rebuilding in Boston. He comes right in. He gets to play. So obviously they're going to put a guy that's been playing minutes instead of a guy who's sitting on the bench. So D Brown uses all my dunks. He does the dab dunk. He takes my idea of pumping up the Reeboks. He does everything. So I'm sitting at home boiling.
Heated.
I'm sitting there. Man, I'm hot. I'm cooking stuff and I ain't got nothing on the flame. That's how hot I was. So as soon as we played Boston, we run out the tunnel. I run right up to him like, yo, can I get my percentage? And he was like, ooh. So I'm like, okay, it's all right. That just fueled my fire. Let me work on my game so I can get back in the dunk contest and beat him next year so he tried to avenge his title. Unfortunately, he did not. He was hurt, so he didn't get in the dunk contest. But Magic Johnson announced his retirement for having the HIV virus, and we played the Lakers in the Forum, and he's working out because they granted him the starting position. He was voted in the starting position, and Magic was like, "Yo, so what you gonna do, man? D Brown came with this, man. You gonna have to go all the way blind on him." And I was like, "Ooh." I was like, "Ooh." So I took that back to the Phoenix Suns Gorilla. And I was like, yo, have you ever did this? He's like, yeah, we did it as a spoof and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay. So then when they started the lineup, it was Sean Kemp, Larry Johnson, John Starks, D Brown was out. They had Nick Anderson, Stacey Augmon. So I'm thinking, okay, a no name like me, how do I put my name and make my mark? I got to leave my mark. So I was working on it. I only made it like 2.5 times. It was real bad. I mean, it wasn't looking good at all, fellas. So we ended up switching it up to a spoof. I talked to the NBA already. I was the first person to contact the NBA to let them know what I was going to do pre-hand so they can be involved with it as well. So what I was supposed to do if I got eliminated, I was supposed to dunk. I was supposed to miss the basketball, the blindfolded dunk really, really bad. And then the mascots run in with the stretcher. They put the basketball on the stretcher, and then they run out and leave me out there. It would have been a big spoof. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So after I already won the dunk contest, the officials was looking at me like, you still going to do it? I was like, all right, let's try it. So when I went out and tried it, it went in. Like if you go back in YouTube and check it out, it goes in. I grab the basket, and I'm looking over at the mascots, and I'm like, hey, went in. It's in, baby. So that's how that all came about, and to this day, y'all need to get D Brown on the show because we never on the same show where we can talk about this and he can relinquish the truth on how I had all those dunks and he took all my stuff from me.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. And and I've known Said for a while now, and I still didn't know the inside scoop on that story. So that's pretty dope. We got to hear it right here on the block. So
yes,
so Said, you're part of the Lakers organization. We spent some time in Dallas, but now as you're sitting there in Phoenix and in the wonderful things that you're doing now, you're getting a chance to look at this Lakers team now. They seem to be operating, have a lot of probably Hall of Famers on the team. What is it that you see with this particular team that's kind of showing them to be so mediocre with the way that they're playing? And do you think that they can get it turned around to make a hard run at the championship this year?
Well, first things first, no Anthony Davis.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like he could be a top 5 player. If you take a top 5 player off of any team right now, they're not going to do as good. It's just the way it is. They base their team off of Anthony Davis. Not LeBron. I mean, LeBron is great and he does great things, but even LeBron made sure Anthony was brought in to be the man on the team. LeBron is going to do what he does. You don't have to really put him in a slot because he's just great like that. And I think what's really hurting them is, when they won the championship, they had a lot of great players in a role position. And Eric, because you were great at this, I wasn't so great at it because, you know, that defense wasn't my forte. On the defensive end, when you rotate, if you're the 1 or 2 guy, you get away with not making rotations, and the 3, 4, 5 guy automatically
Make up for
knows,
it.
said don't
Mhm.
rotate that well. I got to rotate and get back to
Get
woo
it.
woo.
Mhm.
When you put a superstar like Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, and all the rest of the stars that they had there in those positions, they have never played underneath a 3. They've always been the first, the best player, the second best player, or the third. They've never been the 4th or the 5th best player. So I think that's what's really hurting them. They just really have to understand. Like sometimes Carmelo is like, well, why do you didn't rotate? Like, no, you are that 4th, 5th, 6th guy that needs to rotate in those positions. That's why I think the biggest attribute that they're going to have is Ariza, because that's the role that he has played his whole career. He understands it well. He can knock down the open shot. That's not what he is out there to do. He's out there to rotate, cause havoc, and defense. Yes, he's up in age, but his knowledge of basketball is great. I think that's what they have to do. They have to understand that the rotation has to be a full commitment and not a rotating to a position just to be rotating over there. I mean, you got to rotate over and
With purpose.
do what Eric Strickland used to do very well. Take your body out. You got to take the charge. You got to big contact. You got to be physical. You have to rotate, and I think that's the biggest thing. Offensive-wise, they got enough firepower to win basketball games. But do they make those rotations, especially the way the ball moves now? Like Golden State, they really move that basketball. Unbelievable. If they try to go to the East, Brooklyn can move it. They do have great one-on-one players. And also Milwaukee with Giannis. Giannis learned how to pass the ball really well after they won a championship. So that's what the Lakers going to have to do to try to compete.
And I did want to ask you too about a fun thing that I learned about you just kind of looking up is that you were on some tracks with Warren G. I mean, you've got a pretty good history as far as being
HYB.
one of the better rappers in the NBA. How does that work? I mean, how did you kind of come up, I guess, to become a part of that?
You know, I grew up in LA. I went to high school in Compton. Me and MC Ren played on the same basketball team together. I used to listen to Dr. Dre when he DJed.
Hold on, real quick.
Park.
Just so you know, MC Ren is with the infamous NWA. So it's just so y'all don't know, you know now. Go ahead, Sid.
Yeah, look, so I watched Dr. Dre DJ for kids baseball games. Quick, Ice Cube, everybody around. So I knew him, and everybody wants to rap when this whole hip hop phenomenon came down. So everybody had rhymes, and just where could you get on? And I just kind of used my basketball talents and the way to get in to do that. I knew Dr. Dre, but I didn't know Warren G, and I know they are brothers, and I was trying to figure out a way to make that connection. And we just so happened to have our suburban trucks in the same place, getting TVs and speakers into a sound system in it. And I gifted him a wooden steering wheel, knowing that I had an opportunity to make a record. I gifted him that steering wheel. So when we made that introduction, I had already broken the ice, and I was like, hey man, it's an opportunity for me to, make a song. We can raise some money for some charity. Sony's gonna sign us. Is it okay? I grew up in LA. I went to school in Compton, Long Beach. I think our era is kind of the same. So let's get down and get together. And he was all for it.
Man, that's
well,
really
that's
cool.
dope, Sid. Go ahead. Yeah, finish up. Mm-hmm.
Okay, no, I was just saying that's really cool. The only other question I had was, obviously you get plenty of questions about your NBA career. I thought it was kind of cool that at the end you ended up playing Israel and Russia and the Philippines, and especially the Philippines. I think you're partially Filipino. What was the response there? And how cool was it to play overseas? Was it kind of difficult with the language barriers and that sort of thing?
No, it was actually pretty cool. I wish I would have played longer. But my contracts were only like 4 games, 1 game, 2, 3 games. They were kind of like in a celebrity role. The teams that I was going to, weren't that really prominent in their league, and they just needed some fan support and wanted to try to pick my brain a couple of games to get themselves going. I got an opportunity to go to the Philippines. Yeah, half my family is Filipino. I got that chance, and that was great, because they were in the finals over there in the PBA. and one of their Americans got hurt. I think they got hurt game 3, and so they brought me in for game 4, and we ended up winning game 4. It's wild because we took the long flight, 21 hours, and I went straight from the plane to the court, which was wild. Well, I had to go to commissioner's office first. This is a funny story. I got to tell this one. The league is what is changed now, but at that time it was a 6'4". You had to be 6'4" and under to play in this league. The Americans had to be 6'4" and under. So you have to go to the commissioner's office, and the commissioner has this wall, this plank coming out this wall. That's exactly 6'4".
6'4".
And so they told me, all right, you're 6'7". What I want you to do as soon as you get in the office, take your shoes off, wear some baggy shorts, sag them down, and then you kind of bend your legs and then scoot down a little bit so you can fit underneath this thing. All right, so I'm all ready to go. I walk in, I meet the commissioner. They talking to him, turning his back while I go get underneath this thing. And Strick, I bust my head right open on the board. I'm leaking blood everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God, like what's going on? So they just pushed me up against the wall. I go up against the wall and they go, commissioner just takes a look over there. And I don't know why he didn't notice all this blood on my face, and he just go, okay, no problem. And they take me away, run me out. I didn't even put my shoes on or nothing. They just run me out. And all of a sudden I get to play in this game. It was so crazy. But I tell you what, the fans were packed. It was packed in there. It was great energy. Philippines, I've been there a couple times before, but it's always love when you go to some place where you have some sort of history with.
No doubt. Said, man, listen, come back and join us again on the block, man. We'd love to have you back, man. Thank you again for joining us. We're going to take a break, man, get some commercials, and we're going to finish up with hitting the hardwood. Actually, you know what? You think should we keep saying, since we're going to be talking about All-Star? We're going to be, would you want to stay for another segment? It's just a small segment. We talk about the All-Stars a little bit. He said going to stay with us, man. Come back right after this. We're going to talk hitting hardwood with E Strick right after this.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Partly to mostly cloudy skies expected for the majority of the day, although we should break into some sunshine by this afternoon. High temps only around 38. Northwest winds at around 10 to 15. Mainly clear tonight with a low dropping down to around 20. Tomorrow, a warm up on the way. We'll see mostly sunny skies with an afternoon high of 57. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, this is Sean Callahan with Koppel Chevrolet GMC. New vehicle production has been increasing, but the lots will not be filling up anytime soon. In fact, most vehicles are being pre-sold and are leaving the same week as they arrive. If you want your new Chevrolet or GMC, this is a great time to build a vehicle and place an order. Our sales team will work right with you to build the exact vehicle you want. At Koppel, we appreciate your business and sell vehicles at a fair price. So come check us out or visit us online at koppelcars.com.
Casey's General Store is giving you the chance at winning 2 free tickets to a Nebraska home basketball game this season. Stop by any Casey's location in Lincoln throughout basketball season, enter your name into the registration box, and you'll have a chance to win 2 tickets to an upcoming Nebraska basketball game. Every drawing will occur at least 24 hours before the game that has its selected winner. So make sure to get to any Casey's in Lincoln today for your chance at 2 free tickets for Nebraska men's basketball games.
Rosie's Sports Bar and Grill has 2 Lincoln locations that are great for any occasion. If you're downtown for a basketball game or a concert, stop by their newest spot at 10th and P. Don't forget to check out their social media pages to learn about any concerts on stage at Rosie's. If you want to avoid a busy downtown scene, head over to the original Rosie's just south of 14th and Highway 2 for a feeling of your local hometown bar. There's plenty of TVs at both places and great food and drink. What are you waiting for? Rosie's Sports Bar and Grill at 10th and P and on South 14th Street.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Hi, this is Kurt, your shop manager at A1 Automotive here in downtown Lincoln.
My promise to you is this: you won't find another automotive repair facility that genuinely cares about you and your vehicle. Our service is outstanding and our customer service is better. Please give me a call for all your automotive repair questions and needs. Call me at 402-477-4660. We were built on small town values, and that shows in how we treat others. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
Your home should not be a zoo to unwelcomed animals. Let the experts at Bats to Rats take care of those problems. Dane has been a leader in wildlife and pest management and prevention in Lincoln and the surrounding area for 15 years. He can help you get rid of bats, rodents, and anything else. Whether it's residential or commercial buildings, schools, apartments, or churches, they're always a phone call away. Call today at 402-310-0904 or visit batsterats.com. Bats to Rats Wildlife Control and Prevention.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is On the Block with Strick and Bach here on 93.7 The Ticket, wrapping things out with our Hitting the Hardwood segment where we talk NBA action. And joining us today, staying an extra segment, is Cedric Ceballos, a one-time NBA All-Star himself. So it'll be exciting to ask him some questions, especially since All-Star Weekend is coming upon us. Of course, the All-Star starters announced the other day, and that's where I wanted to start, is that Andrew Wiggins was selected as an All-Star starter, and he's having a nice little comeback story with the Golden State Warriors, but probably not quite All-Star starter level. It seems as though the fan vote has taken over and voted Andrew Wiggins in. What do you think of the fan vote? Is that a good idea to have? It obviously at the end of the day, All-Star Weekend is for the fans, but at the same time, sometimes we use these metrics like All-Stars, how many All-Star games you have, to kind of determine your legacy, and I just don't know if it's always fair that way.
Yeah, I might have to disagree with you. It's about the fans. That's what they started the All-Star Weekend for. It's always been about the voting. It's great that they're allowing the players to vote for the starters too as well, and also coaches and all that. That's pretty cool. But we just celebrated the guy's passing anniversary yesterday with Kobe. But look at Kobe. I mean, he was not an All-Star when he was with us at the Lakers, but the fans voted him as a starter. So obviously he went on and had a great career, but the fans want to see the first five out there, and it's a popularity contest, and in order for you to get that popularity contest, even back in '92 when I won the dunk contest, Magic Johnson, he wasn't even on the roster, and the fans voted him in to play. I mean, obviously for the circumstances of health, but Jordan, they didn't vote Jordan in, but Vince Carter pushed him out there like, hey, take my spot. Right. You be a starter. So it is about the show. It is a celebration of the season. So I thought that did a good job. I mean, Wiggins, they back and forth having the best record in the league. Obviously, Steph was going to be a shoe-in, but the fact of the matter that Draymond had been down, no Klay Thompson, and for them to be doing that, and also the James also being down, Big James being down, for them to hang on to that, battling with the Phoenix Suns, I think he well deserved that.
Well, and you mentioned Kobe too. I wanted to ask you about that. Are you in some way related to Kobe? I thought I saw that online.
Yeah, we share the same grandfather. So, very tragic, very tough. But he has a legacy that's going to live on. I mean, he's just a great dude, and I obviously we miss him, and the sport misses him. But the greatest thing that I think Kobe was going to do was probably what was ahead of him, not what was behind him.
Yeah, that was really sad. Obviously, he did have a lot coming up in his future. I did want to ask you this too: if you had to retire your jersey, in which uniform would it be? Never mind that Strick is there, and he might be trying to get you to do with the Mavs. But which jersey would you say would you mostly correlate with throughout your career?
Well, yeah, Eric. No, I would never get my jersey retired. You got to be Dirk like. Got to put up Dirk like numbers. Get that? No, that's kind of hard to do. But if I could, well, statistically wise, I'm very high in the Lakers organization. But as far as fan base, Phoenix would probably be the best bet. We were considered their best team that they ever had, and losing to Michael Jordan in the finals, and So I would say probably it'd be an easier task for me, Phoenix. But statistic wise, averaging 20 plus, 25 plus a game and all that, 50-point games. And, I set a lot of records while I was there for a short period of time. And, and next to me in those records are guys like Kobe, Kareem, Wilt, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor. I mean, I'm the only no-name guy on the list that I am in the category. So.
Well, that's nice of you to call yourself a no-name guy, but obviously we know that you made your name in the NBA. Strick, want to send your friend off? We got about a minute here.
Ced Ceballos, once again, we thank you. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. You know I love you. And we want to welcome you back to the block again because the block is hot. Thank you for joining us on the block right here at 93.7 The Ticket FM. You can find us on YouTube. Also, Ced, tell us how we can find you.
Anywhere at Ced Ceballos, all of social media. My website is Ced Ceballos. Come hang out with me anytime you want to, guys.
All right. Thank you. That's tonight on the block. Find us right here every night. We won't see you until next week on the block from 4 to 6 Central right here on 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.
My time, sometimes years out, so the powers that be won't let me get my ideas out, and that make me want to get my advance out and move to Oklahoma and just live in my aunt's house. Yeah, I romance the thought of leaving it all behind. Kanye stepping.
Shopping for insurance can be a tedious and frustrating task, but the agents at Brokers Insurance Agency will do the work for you. They have partnered with over 20 of the best insurance carriers in the nation, which allows them to do the shopping all for you. Whether you're looking for business insurance or employee benefits for your company, or you're looking to save money on your home and auto insurance,
so they're about to
Brokers
roll through
Insurance
the anthem,
Agency has the
and we'll
agents
get
and
going
solutions
right
to help
after.
meet your goals. Call 402-420-5353 or email staff at Brokers